Good afternoon, I'm David Greenwood-Haig from Coeur de Xocolat, international chocolate consultant, confined to barracks just now. So we thought we'd do a team building event locally on Zoom, and we're going to do a really quick chocolate tasting masterclass. I'm going to teach how to taste chocolate like a professional, like you would in a chocolate awards competition, something like that. I've got my friend Mudir here. I'm just going to tell me who else we've got on screen.
So there's myself, we've got Charlotte, we've got Melissa, and we've decided that we're just going to take a 30-minute break this afternoon from our jobs and get David to teach us how we should eat chocolate properly, as opposed to just stuff it in your mouth, eat it, and then go and get another piece. So David, over to you.
Thank you very much. Most of us think we know how to eat chocolate. And you probably do, because we take a bar of chocolate, you tear it open, shove it in your mouth, crunch it twice and swallow it. And that's eating rather than tasting. And if you do it that way, all you'll get from the chocolate is the sugar and the energy and the calories from it. You won't get any of the finer stuff. Chocolate's got 1,500 different aromas in it. And if you just put it in your mouth and crunch it twice and swallow it, you don't get the opportunity to see those. So what we're going to do is slow down, and we're going to use all our 5 senses. So we're going to look at it, touch it, listen to it, smell it, and finally taste it. And we'll go through them in that order, because obviously if you start smelling it first and then eat it next, you won't be able to touch it and listen and do the other thing, because it will have gone. So that's why we've got a particular order to do this. So the first thing you would do is, you've all got chocolate in front of you, I hope.
Yes.
Yes.
The first thing you do is look at your chocolate. If it's on, you can keep it on the surface in front of you, so you handle it as little as possible, because chocolate starts to melt at 25 degrees and we're all 36.2 degrees. So you try not to. So somebody's already opening his chocolate, by the way.
You don't to do that. I was just going to do a little bit of promotion for you, because it's your chocolates.
Yes. So we try and handle as little as possible. But before we rush in and open, you would read the wrapper. You wouldn't dream of taking a bottle of wine, just ripping the cork out and drinking it. Because if you did, and it was some really horrible wine, then it would spoil your meal, or it would spoil your evening. So you might just have a little look and make sure it's not a 20p bottle of wine, that it's something you like, and then you would commit to do that. And chocolate moments are really personal. If I spoil your chocolate experience, you'll never forgive me, because it's that thing that we like to do. And that's why lots of people don't change their chocolate brand. They're fairly loyal to a particular brand, because you don't want to risk messing it up. So you'd read the wrapper, you'd look where the chocolate came from, you'd be able to tell whether it was milk, dark, or white, or even ruby, the new pink one. And then you could turn the label over and look at the ingredients. And if you've got allergies or intolerances, you could look for those. If you've got religious affiliations, you could look for the halal, the kosher mark. If you've got environmental or social concerns, you could look for the Fair Trade, the Soil Association, all those sorts of things on the back as well. The chocolate that I would normally give you, that I'll show you here, and you'll get some afterwards, is Fair Trade, kosher and halal. The one I've just shown you there is a dark chocolate. There's also a milk in that you'll get. I don't know what you've bought, but you've got chocolate. That's all in with Charlotte. And what have you got, Melissa?
Some chocolate from the local shop.
Okay, perfect. So if you have a look at that and work out, the other thing you can do is check that it's in date, because that's fairly important, although dark chocolate will last typically 5 years. So the next exercise, when we start looking, will tell you whether it's in date or not, rather than what it says on the wrapper. It's worth doing that. Now open your chocolate and have a look inside. So if we open our packs, and then put the chocolate back on top of the foil or the cardboard or wrapper, just so we're not touching it too much. Perfect. So we've done the look. We're now at the touch stage. And have you ever bought chocolate and when you've opened it, it's had grey or white streaks across the top of the chocolate? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That's called a bloom. And there are two different types of bloom. One of them's called a sugar bloom, and the other one is called a fat bloom. And if you left your chocolate bar in the windowsill, on the windowsill now with the sun out, after about half an hour it would start to melt, and the chocolate would start to recede. It would start to spread, and because chocolate starts to melt at 25 degrees, but the sugar that's in your chocolate bar melts at a much higher temperature, so the sugar won't melt. It'll just poke out of the top as the chocolate moves away. We then take our melted chocolate usually and stick it in the fridge, so it sets again, and then you can eat your chocolate. But when you bring it out of the fridge, it's a bit fudgy. It's got those white and grey streaks on the top, and it just doesn't eat in your mouth properly. It's a bit fudgy and doesn't taste as nice. But most of us work through that anyway, and we struggle on. One of the reasons for this is when you put chocolate into the fridge, the cold shocks the chocolate, and the cocoa butter in your chocolate rises up to the surface, and you get a thin layer of cocoa butter on top of your piece of chocolate. The sugar crystals that are sticking out of the top, sugar is hygroscopic and absolutely loves water. So all the moisture in your fridge will smell of yesterday's Stilton cheese that's not wrapped properly, the pizza that's not been put away right, and all those aromas get drawn to the sugar and make your chocolate taste of those other things. So it makes your chocolate taste funny, smell funny, and then it feels funny in your mouth. So hopefully that's not what your chocolate looks like. While I'm open, I think, is it all right?
No, it's all fine.
Yeah.
Right.
So the next thing you're going to do is run your finger across the top of the piece of chocolate, and it should be smooth and dry, not sticky, and you shouldn't feel sugar crystals.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then if you rub the corner of the piece of chocolate harder, you want to melt it with your fingers a little bit. And if you can do that, that tells you that it's got real cocoa butter in it, because cocoa butter is the only naturally occurring fat you can lick your fingers, Minia. It's the only naturally occurring fat that's liquid at body temperature. So if it didn't melt, that you'd either be really cold, or it would be one of the modified fats that have been designed for Australia or India, one of those things, which aren't as nice as cocoa butter. So everybody done that? Was it okay? Did it work?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So look, we've touched. We're now going to listen. So if you pick your chocolate with the wrapper you've got there and hold it to your ear. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Right to your ear. So I'll do the same with mine as well. And then if you do, what's it saying, Minia?
It's saying you need to eat me quickly.
Perfect. And then if you just take it and break it, I don't know if you hear that snap of mine.
Oh yeah.
And you should get a snap. That tells you that the crystals in the chocolate have been lined up and bound together, and you physically got to break them. The louder the snap, the higher the cocoa content.
Yeah.
You've got a milk chocolate there, Minia, so yours will be quieter than mine was because there's less cocoa solids in yours. So you can tell just by the noise which is the highest cocoa content. So if you weren't looking, that would give you an indication. So we've looked, we've touched, we've listened. We're now going to smell. So if you put it in your cupped hand, the piece you've broken, and lift up to your nose and have a really good sniff, and then put it back down again so it doesn't melt in your hands. And there are 1,500 different aromas in chocolate. This wheel behind shows some of them, and the guide that you're going to get will have one of those in, and you can see on the wheel. Our mouths are really, really rubbish at tasting. Our mouths can only taste 5 things, and that's sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Does everyone know what umami is?
No.
No, yeah. Okay, lots don't. Umami is a relatively new sense or taste, and it was originally the Romans used it, but they didn't call it umami. They didn't know what it was called. It was just really good stuff. the 17th, some of the 17th century chefs used it, but called it other things. And then in the 1900s, a Japanese scientist rediscovered it and called it umami, which means tasting, really. And it's, if you imagine a sun-dried tomato tastes meaty, but there's no meat in it, that's umami. A shiitake mushroom tastes meaty, but there's none in it. But that's probably the best way to describe umami. It's a glutamate, and it's a bit like the stuff in monosodium glutamate that makes all sorts of things taste nice. And that's what this does. Our bodies crave glutamates. So when you put that into chocolate, or when you find it in things, we enjoy that. And it makes sauces deeper and richer, and chocolate the same. But it's a problem when there's 1,500 aromas in chocolate and your mouth can only identify 5 things. So it can do hot and cold and sharp and crunchy, but taste-wise it can only do 5. Whereas our noses can do probably 30,000 different aromas. So our noses are much more sophisticated. Our mouths only make up 5% of the whole experience of tasting, and whereas our noses are between 70 and 90. So what I'm going to get, our eyes are 5%, our ears make up 5%. So when we're listening, you hear some champagne being poured and there's no fizz and no bubbles, then you think, oh, maybe not. Or if you put a crisp in your mouth and crunch it, your teeth don't know it's crunchy, your ears hear that. And if it doesn't crunch, you think, no, that's soggy, I don't want that. So there's lots of things, you know, if something's supposed to be firm and it's slimy, we don't like the taste. Even if there's nothing wrong with it, we don't like it. So those things make a difference. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take a piece of chocolate big enough that you want to put in your mouth, pinch your nose, and that will isolate your olfactory, your smelling, and then put the piece on your tongue, close your mouth, and just move your tongue around a little. You should only taste sugar just now, just the sweetness, because it's the 5 things your mouth can taste. Release your nose, open your mouth a little, and then gently breathe in. That's called cooking, C-U-C-K. You're just spreading all those aromas. So it should have gone from sweet to a burst of flavour that becomes more interesting. And I'm not going to tell you what to taste, because you'll spot those things. And when you look at the wheel, that'll give you some hints, but you can identify them instead of being bullied by an expert, a so-called expert. You can find, and it doesn't matter, you can call them whatever you want to call them then, because it's yummy, it's nice, it's whatever. And as you do that, you've eaten probably 2 grams of chocolate now. But I would imagine you might have, in fact, some of you are still chewing, so it's not all gone yet. But when it has gone, the flavour's still there. You'll still have those aromas. Whereas if I'd have just set up your chocolate and eat it, you would have probably eaten 2 or 3 times more, and you'd have just wolfed it down, and the flavour would have disappeared. So this is a really easy way, and you only need this instruction for the first piece of chocolate, and then you'd have a discussion if you were all trying the same piece about what you thought of it, and you might. Somebody will say, I got oaky and I got red berries or cherries. Somebody say, oh no, I got banana. And you'll spot some of the differences, because you'll all taste different elements at different times, because all our palates are fairly unique. And then you can run on to pairing this with herbs and spices, or pairing it with fruits and things. I do that when I'm doing menu development for companies, and that can be quite fun as well. So enjoy receiving your kids. That's my bit for now, just as a little ray of sunshine into an afternoon. It's nice and sunny here in Wakefield, so we're doing okay. But thank you for your attention, and I will see you again from the Revolution, and I'll bring some more chocolate, I promise.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just